Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, like it or not, we are all in the digital experience business. We demand it as consumers, and as businesses, we're challenged with continuously raising the bar. And those experiences we have as consumers, we're now taking into the business, and even in B2B environments, we're bringing those same expectations as consumers into the workplace. Now, a company called Sitecore is unifying data, content, commerce and experiences to empower brands such as L'Oreal, Microsoft, United Airlines, to name but a few, deliver unforgettable interactions, but across every single touch point. And I think that's something that every business is chasing right now. And traditionally, they've encountered problems in uniting all those touch points. And the company also has a big event coming up in Chicago called Symposium, where Mindy Kaling is going to be speaking along with over 100 sessions with top global brands. And I'm attending the event, and I'm going to be recording many interviews from the show floor with some of these global brands. So I'll be keeping you informed of all the big topics businesses are talking about. But today, I've invited Paige O'Neill to join us on the podcast to talk about the event, but also share insights around Sitecore's 2022 holiday report that exposes the reality of holiday shopping, the impacts of the economic downturn, and most importantly, of course, digital experiences, because this is a tech podcast. But I've revealed far too many spoilers already, so buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to San Francisco, where you can join me and Paige O'Neill in conversation about insights from the report, how businesses can prepare for the holiday season, digital experiences, and what we can expect from that big event. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Paige. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Neil. I am Paige O'Neill, the CMO of Sitecore. And, I guess you'd say I'm a career B2B marketer. I've been in the B2B marketing space for longer than I care to say, certainly well over 20 years, and just have a real passion around technology and customer experience.
And I'd love to take you back in time for a moment. Can you remember where the worlds of marketing and technology collided for you? And ultimately, what's your origin story?
Yeah, it's. I think I have a pretty interesting origin story. I was actually at NYU at New York University studying to get a PhD in media ecology, which is how technology impacts culture. And I thought I was going to teach college. And so I'm kind of going about my business as a student and, studying about how this new technology, the internet, was on the rise. This was in the kind of the mid 90s. And I was going to get a part-time job, and I ended up interviewing at this public relations agency for IBM. And honestly, I didn't even know what public relations was. I certainly didn't understand high tech at all. I was 25 years old. And I was so intrigued by the ideas they were talking about at this agency that I literally went back, quit the PhD program, and immersed full on into technology. And so literally 1 week I was sitting in class with a renowned professor named Herbert Schiller. And he was talking about how corporations were going to ruin the free spirit of exchange on the internet, because at this time it was academia who were exchanging ideas. And then the next day I was working for IBM's internet division. So it was a pretty interesting entry.
It's incredibly cool. And of course, that path would eventually lead you to Sitecore, where you are now. So can you tell me a little bit more about the story behind the company or the problems it set out to solve with technology, just for anyone listening that is hearing about Sitecore for the first time?
Yeah, and I've been at Sitecore for about 4.5 years now. Sitecore has been around for 20 plus years, and it pretty much invented the content management space with our web technology. And so one of the big things that we do is we make the technology that powers websites, and we do many other things. We've got commerce technology, we've got other content technologies, digital asset management technologies. So we've expanded and grown dramatically since the time that we founded. But what's at the heart of what we do is thinking about customer experience. And so, today brands have to really think about how to reach out to customers, how to personalize content for them, how to understand their interests, and how to kind of meet them with the topics that they want to hear more about. across any digital channel that they may encounter that brand on. And so our technology really sits at the heart of that, and content kind of sits at the heart of what we do.
Love that. And I think that just sets the scene perfectly for where we are right now, where our inboxes are relatively calm, but it's only a few weeks away, really, until we start thinking about those Black Friday emails that are going to start filling up our inboxes. And obviously, that's going to be the biggest day of the year for many retailers. But there is an old IBM quote that I love using on this podcast, and that is: the last best experience that anyone has anywhere will become the minimum expectation for that experience that they expect everywhere. So with that in mind, can I ask you to share some of the insights from your Christmas research around what consumers want in terms of digital experience this season? And are there any big stats that you can share around that?
Yeah, and we just released our Christmas research, a couple of days ago, and I think that what we're seeing is that it's setting up to be a fairly lean attitude and approach to the holiday season, really all around the world. We did this survey in a dozen or so countries around the globe, and it's amazing how the attitudes are fairly similar in terms of, people are concerned about spending for the holiday season. They're pulling back, or they're doing a lot more research online to kind of figure out what they're going to buy. And so that is the tone that we see in the research that we did. And, in terms of digital experience, they're looking for brands to kind of recognize where they are and what they might want to buy from that brand, and give them a deal on what they're looking for. And they're going to be doing research until they get to the deal that they're looking for. And one of the things we found is they're planning to spend a lot more time doing that research to find that deal than they ever have before.
And I think you're bang on there, because so much, some of the conversations I'm having, people are cutting back on stuff that they want but don't necessarily need. And I think, as you said, it's a global trend because of the economic downturn. And I'm curious, though, when looking at that report, you're familiar with this, you live and breathe this space. Was there anything in there that surprised you when looking at the research of that, looking at the results of that research?
Well, I think one of the good surprises that I saw was just the number of countries where a thing that seemed to be top of mind was prioritizing purchase from minority-owned businesses. Really all over the world, and Australia leading the way here, 71% of Australians said they're prioritizing purchases from minority-owned businesses. 57% of Americans, 63% of French, 62% of people in the UK. And so this is something that's top of mind. And so, back to what you said in terms of people really watching what they buy, they really want to make sure that they're purchasing from companies that share their values, that they feel have got an authentic way of doing business. And I think the minority-owned businesses are rising to the top and earning those dollars. And so I think that's a great trend.
Absolutely. And there are so many evolving trends and needs and expectations from consumers now. And the big question I have to ask on behalf of any business leaders or retailers listening is what can retailers do to deliver against those evolving needs and expectations, and not only meet them, but maybe even set new ones too?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that should be top of mind for retailers. And I think, the very first thing, I mentioned this a little bit already, is understanding what's important to your customers and approaching them with an authentic and value-driven message. Customers are looking to connect with brands that they feel share their values. And so that can really come out during the holidays when they're prioritizing their spend. And so thinking about it from the customer's perspective of authenticity and value-driven campaigns and content. And then the other thing that, probably even more important is, it always comes back to price, especially at a time when consumers are watching what they spend. And the notion that consumers are going to do more research to get the good price. They've been doing that for the last couple of years. I think it's one of the powers of online is that you can do that search so easily. And so they're going to be looking for the best deals. And that coupled with some of the data that we saw around impulse buying, particularly in the US. So they're going to be doing research, but then if they see a deal, they're going to pounce on it. So I think retailers have to be mindful of that when they're thinking about their message and the mood that consumers are in this season, and couple that with the price.
And they often say that some of the most damaging words in any business is but we've always done it that way. And I think we all need to continuously change and evolve with these trends. So I've got to ask, what is it that keeps you up at night? And how do you keep things like your curiosity and open-mindedness to create new solutions and turn those challenges into opportunities? How do you keep stuff like that alive so you don't get stuck in a rut?
Yeah, I think that you have to start with the consumer point of view first.
Yeah.
And consumer attitudes are always changing. If you think about what we've been through as, kind of the human species the last 2 years, it's led to very different attitudes. And so, we're all relying more on digital, but yet we're back out in the world going to the store. And so I think that, anytime a brand is trying to figure out, how do I lead, they've got to understand what's top of mind for the consumer. And right now, we're dipping our toes back and going to the store. So is the in-store experience what it should be? How does that bleed over to the digital experience? We know that consumers are doing research on prices. So is that content easy to find? We know that they want to make a connection and do business with a brand that shares their values. So are those values coming out? These are all things that are, a little bit different than they were a couple of years ago. And so I think knowing what consumers are thinking about has got to be top of mind.
It really has. And another big change, of course, to the last 2 years, the tech conference scene was decimated. And I think now people are looking forward and excited to get back out on show floors and just exchange ideas with people that you wouldn't normally get to speak with, and those moments of serendipity. And obviously, the reason I mention that is you've got a big event coming up in Chicago. So can you tell me a little bit more about Symposium and what we can expect from the event?
Absolutely. I hope that people are looking forward to getting back out there. Our attendance at Symposium is shaping up to be really fantastic. So it seems like they are. And so our event, this is our annual customer event. It's going to be happening October 17th through 20th at the McCormick Place in Chicago. And this is the first time we're back in person after the last 2 years being digital. So I think there's a lot of excitement in the air to, as you said, get people back together, do some networking, see people face to face. I can just say from, the person in charge of the conference, putting it on digitally, I'm glad we were able to do it, but it's just not the same as having the energy of the people in the audience and being able to really stand face to face. So there's a lot of excitement. And I think that we've got an absolutely fantastic lineup of Sitecore customers who are going to be sharing their success stories. We've got customers like Mercedes-Benz, General Mills, L'Oreal, Emirates, NBD, Eneos, United Airlines. I mean, just to name a few, right? It's kind of a who's who list of customers. We've also got some really exciting guest speakers like Mindy Kaling. I'm going to be sitting down with her and talking about kind of her career, and she really brings a sense of authenticity to everything that she does. So I think it maps to the tone of everything that we've been talking about. So there's a lot that's going to be going on over the course of those few days.
Wow, that's incredible. You're going to be sat down with Mindy. You're going to get a selfie at some point, right? You're going to try and remain professional.
Yeah, she's really something else. Really admirable if you look at the way that her career has been on such a trajectory and just the story she's able to tell.
Absolutely, 100% with you. And what's next for you? I appreciate you probably can't share too much, especially as you're just on the run up to an annual event. But is there anything you can share about your current focus and the mission that you're on at Sitecore and how you're leveraging technology, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's, as I mentioned earlier, I've been at Sitecore for a long time now, and I continue to just be incredibly excited, not only about the technology trajectory that we're on, but also about just the customer experience space overall. And I think that, at Sitecore right now, we're on a mission to move all of our core products to the cloud. And that's going to just revolutionize the way that marketers think about building customer experiences, getting rid of upgrades, making websites a lot more fast and lower cost of ownership to deploy. Those things are going to be revolutionary. It shouldn't. I've been saying as a CMO for a long time, if you're a big brand, it shouldn't take you, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 10 months to stand up a website. The way that it does today with a lot of the enterprise brands. And so that's something that we're really passionate about is making that journey a lot more easy without losing the functionality that Sitecore is known for and the flexibility. And so we've made a lot of acquisitions in the last couple of years. We've built out our product suite. We're thinking about making it composable so that you can add the solutions that you need when you need them. And I think that mission to get everything into the cloud is really kind of top of mind. And then, as a marketer, I'm thinking about the metaverse. We're starting to see a lot of interest from customers and partners on doing experiments on metaverse-like environments that are super immersive. And I think it's going to change the game. And I think that'll keep us all very excited about the possibilities of customer experience for some time to come.
And I'm glad you said that, because in the news feeds, there is a lot of hype around the metaverse at the moment. And of course, the success of any new technology is all about adoption. And I think from some people's, or a more cynical side of it, people will say, well, I can't see this happening anytime soon, etc. But the fact that you're saying there that there's real brands, real businesses that are exploring this right now, and that's quite enlightening on its own, isn't it?
Well, it is. And, I think if you look at the data, right, you've got the technology companies that are investing billions of dollars in setting up infrastructure. So, Apple, Google, Meta, on and on and on are investing billions of dollars. And then you've got brands like, Coca-Cola or, Ferrari or Stella Artois, or even JP Morgan, who are experimenting with metaverse environments. We just finished a survey that said 1/3 of marketers are already marketing in the metaverse. And so it's here, whether people want to believe it or not. People said the same thing when I was starting out in my career. They said people would never pay with their credit card over the internet. And you look where we are now. So people always have skepticism about new technologies that are coming out. It's just kind of the human mode. This is happening quickly.
Yeah, and it takes me back even further. If you go to, I think it was 1995 when Bill Gates was on the Letterman show, and he was asked to try and explain the internet, and the crowd mocked him. Letterman mocked him. We all know how that story ended, right?
That'll be me in a few weeks with my keynote talking about the metaverse.
And obviously, you are incredibly busy, just a few weeks away from the event. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and share your origin story with me. But as we come full circle, I'm now going to ask you to leave one other thing, and that is a song that has maybe inspired you, helped you get your head in the zone, that we can add to our Spotify playlist. All I'm going to ask is, what are you going to leave us with and why?
I'm going to leave you with the song Unstoppable by Sia. And I think this is relevant to our conversation because, everybody needs a power song. And I'm thinking about presenting and doing my keynote at Symposium. And I'm a big believer in listening to music to kind of pump you up as you get ready for these big onstage experiences. And that song, anyone who's out there who does speaking on a stage, you should try listening to that song before you go on stage, because I think it really gets you excited and focuses your energy in a great way.
Wow, what a great choice. I will add that straight to Spotify playlist. And for anybody listening that wants to find out more information about any of the topics we discussed about Sitecore, maybe checking that research out, or even finding out more information about the Symposium event, what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah, the best starting point is our website, which is sitecore.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll add that link and a few other useful information to the blog post and site notes, show notes that will accompany this episode. But more than anything, as I said, you're very busy at the moment. I appreciate you taking the time away from those arrangements to come and share your story with me today. Thank you, Paige.
Thanks for having me.
So if any of you are attending Symposium or live in the Chicago area and you'd like to say hello to me, especially if you listen to the podcast every day, please email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Send me a DM, send me an email, send me an audio message, whichever is easiest for you. And if you have any insights around tech and what to expect from the holiday season and expectations around digital experiences, please let me know. So whether it's sharing your insights or sharing a hot coffee or cold beer with me in Chicago, I think we've got all bases covered there. So if you're attending Symposium and you want to hear some of the interviews from that event, subscribe to the podcast now. And we've got a couple of weeks to go yet. So I also cordially invite you to join me again tomorrow for another interview about how technology is transforming our business, life, and even world. But a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.